During the game against the Packers, there's an obscure stat that the Detroit Lions pulled off that has never been done before. So one could say impossible. And we are going to talk about that in this video. In fact, I talked about it on the live show. I was wondering, right after the game, I was wondering if this had ever been done before. Because as I was looking at the stats, I was like, this is weird. Let's look into this. So we will talk about that. We're going to talk about a threat that Kenny Clark of the not the Detroit Lions, of the Green Bay Packers, a threat that he issued to the Lions. And we got some good Aiden Hutchinson news. But as the Lions, the question that I want to ask you at the front of this video, as the Detroit Lions have clinched a playoff berth, they're in. Is there anybody in the NFC that scares you? Is there anybody in the NFC that scares you, or are you just like, no, look, this team is a team of destiny. They aren't going to lose. I feel really good about it. I got one team. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. That is the team that makes me nervous, and I will admit the idea of playing, if we beat the Vikings and we've beaten the Packers twice, the idea of having to beat those teams for a third time does get difficult. But this is what you have to do if you want to win Super Bowl. So let's start with our obscure stat of the day. If you ever watched Dan Patrick, you know what I was doing there. All right, so here it is. Goff became just the third quarterback in NFL history to complete 5 passes to at least 6 different receivers in a regular season game, joining Matt Hasselbeck and Colt McCoy. Now, this actually gets a little more interesting. He said his performance marked the first time in NFL history that a quarterback completed a pass to 6 or more receivers and had 100% of them all finished with at least 5 receptions. So, Hasselbeck, Colt McCoy, they did complete passes, right, to 5 or 6 or more different players, but they also had a couple of players that didn't get to 5. So that was what made this one with Jared Goff interesting. And as we were going and talking on the live show, what I was saying is I was looking at the box score, and I was talking about game balls. And I said, I'm going to give my game ball to Goff. I'm going to give it to Goff because of this stat right here, right? Montgomery, 5 catches. St. Brown, 5 catches. Laporta, 5 catches. Williams, 5 catches. Gibbs, Tim Patrick, 6 catches. 3 touchdowns. The way in which he spread the ball around, the efficiency in which he did it, and the fact that if you had any of these guys on your fantasy football team, they had just a decent day for you. And that is the way you look at it, and you have to say was nuts. No other player caught a pass. Only Brock Wright was targeted. So when we look at this, you just have to realize it's good to spread the ball around, but to be able to do it with the efficiency that he did and involve everybody at the level in which Goff did, it truly was, in my opinion, and I know maybe it wasn't the prettiest, it didn't have any bombs or anything like that. This is one of the best Jared Goff games in recent memory because they took away the run. They sent pressure. They didn't send pressure. It didn't matter. He was absolutely dealing in this game. All right, so with that being said, the Packers are starting to become everything that they hate. They're complaining about calls. They're complaining about losses. And this is what everybody is, the Packers have always been the team that says, oh, if you don't like the calls, if you don't want it to be up to the calls, then win by enough so that you don't have to. All right. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay. All right. But Kenny Clark said, we're definitely here. I'll show you the quote. He said, we are definitely going to be back here and we'll be excited to play them again once we do. He also talked about a couple of calls and other things like that going in the right direction and how this game could have looked entirely different. But basically what he said is, we're going to be back here. We're going to be back here and we want to play them again. And don't mistake this for him just being like, you know what, I think there's a good chance that we'll be back and, hopefully, we'll see them again and we'll be excited to play them come playoff time and hopefully that's what. No, it was, we're going to come in here and we're going to win. And so it's very interesting. He knows the stats. He knows how hard it is to beat a or beat a team 3 times in one season. I was just talking to a Packers fan the other day, and I'm like, it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a season. Don't necessarily want to see in the playoffs. He's like, it's hard to beat a team 2 times in a row in a season. I guess it is. Right? And we did absolutely do that. So, Kenny Clark, he played unbelievable in this game. I don't know if you saw the amount of disruption he had on our run game, a little bit in the pass game. He was an absolute menace on the defensive side of the ball, and our offense still was able to go up and down the field on this Packers defense. I don't see Kenny Clark being able to play a better game. So I don't see this Packers defense being able to stop us. They couldn't stop us in the pouring cold rain at Lambeau Field. They definitely couldn't stop us in the comfy confines of Ford Field for our offense. So no, I don't think that this is a Packers defense that is built to stop our offense. I think we understand how to beat it. I think they threw everything but the kitchen sink at us. So if they want to play us again, go for it. That's just fine. Now let's talk about Aiden Hutchinson. All right. Albert Breer, who is, he's a journalist that does a good job, right? Like he does a good job, and there is expectations. This is interesting to me. Breer reports that Hutchinson is in the Lions building rehabbing every day and is already walking without crutches after fracturing his fibula and tibia in week 6. And it's noteworthy that Breer reports the expectation is Hutchinson will be in uniform for a Super Bowl. Not that he could or might be. So, the expectation is that if the Lions make the Super Bowl, Hutchinson will be in uniform. That doesn't mean he's playing. Okay, he's going to be in uniform. And he might not be ready at the time. He might be close. He might be ready, and he might be playing. Would this be a big deal? Of course it would be a big deal. I don't want it to overshadow what the team is doing in the Super Bowl, but anytime you get your arguably best player on the defensive side of the ball, arguably best player on the team, there's a lot of talented boys on this team, right? You got St. Brown, you got Sewell, you got Branch. Like, there's a lot of talented boys, but arguably people could make the argument that Hutch, he was on the road for defensive MVP when he got hurt and broke his leg. A defensive MVP can make the argument that he's the best player on the team. Anytime you get him back, even at 80%, that is an absolute win. Aiden Hutchinson at 80% would be better than Al-Qadim Muhammad at 100%. That's not a knock on Muhammad. He has filled in admirably, but he's not Hutch. And if you can get Hutch and Smith playing together, that could be a great weapon that could get us over the hump in that Super Bowl matchup. If it's against someone like the Chiefs, they have one good tackle. One, not two. One. And a lot of teams kind of fall into that realm as well. So a lot of good things happening for the Lions. Obviously, we can tell on this channel, views have never been higher. And so we understand that's not because me and Chris are doing some great reporting and or whatever you want to call this, talking about the Lions team. We've always done this. For 4 years, we've kept it positive. Now it's just positive because the Lions keep winning. So we're thankful for what the Lions are doing. They're making this channel more of a success than it ever has been. So thankful for all of you continuing to listen to us talk about it because everybody's talking about the Lions right now. So you could go anywhere. So we appreciate you being here. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. See you tomorrow.